of the essence, a common phrase that depicts the urgency to take advantage of a moment because there is no time worth wasting. In the last 3 years of my life, I've realized the value of each second. So please value the time that I am standing here with you, because in the next 10 minutes, I hope to remind you the value of each minute that follows. This is my dad. In 2016, I was just 9 years old, living in Burke, Virginia, with my mom and older sister. That February, my dad left for a year-long deployment in Afghanistan to work on various security and protection projects. At 9 years old, I had no idea the work that he was doing. But the tone of his voice on every phone call told me that he was glad to be helping people there. Despite this pride, he boarded a flight after 5 months to come back to the United States, and he never returned to Afghanistan. What 9-year-old me understood was my dad is coming home. I wish that it was that simple. What I grew to learn was that the dermatologist in Afghanistan was concerned about a spot in my dad's face. He flew to Walter Reed Medical Center in Maryland, where the doctors concluded that the spot was just some broken blood vessels. But right prior to leaving his appointment, he expressed a simple worry that turned very concerning. I don't remember much of this process. I was young and I didn't understand what being diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer could mean. I don't remember the conversation where my parents explained to me that my dad had cancer, and I don't remember the conversation where my parents explained to me what cancer even is. All 9-year-old me felt was happiness because he was home. And I think maybe I don't remember this simply because I didn't understand. I'm okay, he would say. Why would I ever wonder if he wouldn't be? Shortly after, my dad began chemotherapy treatment and lost his hair. I thought my dad looked so funny bald, but I thought he looked even funnier when my sister would drape her black hair over his head. In 2017, after he finished chemotherapy, we moved to Beaver Creek, Ohio. He began working at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base as the Dean of the Civil Engineer School at the Air Force Institute of Technology. Over the next few years, I continued to grow up with him by my side. Long soccer practices, bike rides, a daddy-daughter dance, and each and every morning that he would take me up to the bus stop. Now, I wish I could remember all the good times with my dad as clearly as I remember the events of 2020. February. My dad began to feel physically fatigued more often than usual. At a local blood test, the doctors discovered that the cancer had suffocated his bone marrow. His body was fighting to produce blood. March, April, and May. He began visiting the hospital every 2 weeks for hemoglobin, platelet, and white blood cell transfusions. Every 2 weeks turned into every week, and every week turned into every few days. He also began radiation treatment to stop the pain caused by tumors near his spine. My family acquired the help of hospice to provide us with support and pain management services. Now, over these months, there were small signs of hope, small signs that his health may turn around. Despite all those trials, treatments, and transfusions, it never did. June. Tumors had formed in his liver and in his brain. He began using an at-home oxygen supply and a walker. One of the hardest discussions I've ever had was the family decision to turn down radiation and chemotherapy treatment. It was so hard to hear my dad tell me that he didn't want to try. Finally, I understood. There was such a slight chance that it would change the outcome, and it only guaranteed that my dad would not be himself in what was likely his last few weeks. July. He slowly changed, drowsy from the constant medication, treatment, and cancer progression. Each "I am okay" he spoke turned into him lying by my side telling me, "My little girl, you will be okay." The last week in July, he became immobile and mute. One of the hardest discussions it was so hard to hear my dad tell me that he didn't want to try. He became immobile and mute. It was so hard. He became immobile and mute. Though it was so hard, all I wanted to do was sit at his side. I would talk to him and sing to him. I would tell him, I love you, and I know all you want to do is tell me that you love me too. August 1st. I watched my best friend's breathing slow until his chest never rose again. On August 1st, I watched any idea of ever feeling happy, any idea of feeling like a joyful 9-year-old little girl again slip away. On August 1st, the realization that I would never hug him, sing with him, laugh with him, or hear him tell me he loves me again hit me. All in that moment. On August 1st, I realized something. I should have asked him more questions. I should have spent more nights and days at home with my family. I should have never fought, never yelled. I could have had more time. The traditional stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. People, therapists, loved ones, friends told me that I would now enter the grieving process. In reality, I started a grieving process long before my dad passed. I grieved that stereotypical, picture-perfect family life that I would never have again. When he died, I was forced to accept that that life was long gone. But not until he took his last breath did I understand that he was leaving. And that's when I started to grieve him. Everything I did reminded me of my dad. It turned the idea of living life to the fullest to just trying to get through it. The problem was that running through the motions of life wasn't even possible anymore. Instead of falling asleep, I would sob uncontrollably for hours, every tear like being stabbed in the chest. In the worst moments, I felt physically unreal, with an incapability of comprehending my reality. In an attempt to remember him forever, I would write down every memory for hours because I could already feel them slipping away. I screamed at a God I didn't even know if I believed in, asking God why couldn't it have been someone else. Truthfully, I felt guilty for not suggesting that my dad should visit the hospital at his first signs of fatigue. I know that I could have done things differently, and maybe it would have made things better. And I'm sorry. Sorry for that, and sorry for ever wasting time. Grieving is just exhausting. Many people think it looks like the diagram that I showed you earlier, and while I agree that this is a simple understanding, grieving is not a step-by-step process through merely 5 emotions. Rather, it bounces everywhere between many more complex feelings. And this is kind of what grieving looked like for me. Looking back, it feels like I have been tired for years, but clearly it makes sense. Researchers have discovered what they call here, now, close neurons that track relationships with those we love. They do it by predicting in your daily routines when, where, and whether or not it is likely that you will interact with that person. They measure in space, time, and depth of connection. And as our bonds grow stronger, these neurons multiply and they evolve. And when someone's corporeal presence disappears, these neurons don't. And your body simply exhausts itself searching for that person or the characteristics that that bond made you feel. Slowly, the grieving process has gotten easier for me. Collectively, those in my life have stepped up to fill the void that my dad left behind. My mom is my rock, the strongest person I know. She told me, "I'm proud of you," when I couldn't pick myself up off the ground. My sister is always at my side. She knew me and will always know me the best, and having her there to guide me through life each day saves me from the darkness. My closest friends and non-biological family brought me support through laughter and kindness. One friend in particular, who was there through it all, did more for me than I will ever be able to explain. But my biggest thank you has to go to you, Dad. You taught everyone around you, including me, to be so many different and amazing things, and for that, you live on. You are the reason that I survived losing you. I've learned again what happiness is. One day, my home and life felt full, and my idea of that perfect life was redefined. I began attending one of the top-ranked schools in Dayton my freshman year of high school, where I feel I've gotten the best education to accomplish my dreams. I'm in my 4th year of competitive show choir. I'm a dance captain, and I love each and every rehearsal that I attend. Last year, I took part in a student fundraising competition. And it's led by a global organization with the goal of curing blood cancers. I worked with a close friend of mine, and we raised $115,000 in just 7 weeks. Currently, I am a member of the leadership team, mentoring those competing this year. Lastly, I have taken a step that I never imagined would be this hard, and that is standing here today. This process has taught me something different than what I thought I knew on August 1st of 2020. I have spent so much of the last few years just wishing that I had more time with my dad. Now I realize I'm lucky to have had so much time with him. Please, value your time. It moves fast when you love it and slow when you hate it, but when you value it, you'll realize all of the amazing things that you can do with it. Use your time to offer love and support to those who feel isolated and alone. Use your time to volunteer, to bring change, to make an impact on the world. Use your time to grow through your personal lessons, to take advantage of every opportunity and to find yourself. Use your time to be a kid, a fearless, curious, and resilient and happy kid. Use your time to connect with those around you, to love them and to learn from them. Use every second of your life doing something or learning something meaningful just to make sure that it doesn't pass you by. So thank you for giving me a precious 600 seconds of your life today. I know how valuable each one is, and I hope you walk away knowing that too.